Welcome back, guys, to another episode of In Plain Sight. We're going to take you through some digital privacy concepts today and do like a general overview and talk a little bit about it. Some hopefully some deep level stuff, but at this point we're all pretty tired, so you'll be happy to get some base level stuff. Anyhow, I'm your host. I'm Andy.
I'm Tin.
I'm Matt.
And actually,
right, guys,
no, you know what? I'm playing top lane today. Fuck this.
do it. Hey,
Yeah.
Timo.
All right, let's go.
All right, Timo, start us off. What are you drinking?
Beer.
Beer. That's it? Does it taste like beer?
Pernicious. It's an IPA.
Does it say penis?
Yeah, it kind of does, right? It's Perny is what it says here, but it's Pernicious by Wicked Weed. This beer it's from Publix right down the street from my house. It's 7.3% alcohol by volume, and it tastes like an IPA. Lazy, crappy, and very hoppy. Actually, Pernicious is actually one of the better IPAs.
I can never tell if you actually like anything on this show.
No, it's I'm bringing Bud Light back onto the show next week. What about you, Andy? I see your beer there on the desk.
Yeah, I got my camera zoomed out a little bit more. So yeah, I've got Founders Solid Gold. I'm a so this is just a regular lager. It's not anything special. If you like lagers, it's a good lager to pick up. I'm a huge fan of Founders though. Founders is a Michigan brewery, and I've never had anything from them that I disliked. So if you see them, whatever it is, pick it up, try it. It's amazing. I said that even though I said this was mediocre. This is pretty good. But yeah, no, I like Founders.
Yeah, they make an amazing stout.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
they do.
love Founders. Yeah.
Yep.
What about you, Matt?
Speaking of stouts, I have since it's the morning for me, 8 a.m. I got a latte stout.
Nice.
Don't wake me up. It's from Mother Earth Brewery.
Is that a Starbucks symbol? What is that?
Let's see.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't think so. But it does have some advice. Love your mother on there.
Do not drink while pregnant. Which one are you
Oh,
talking
I see
about? Love your mother. Got it.
Yeah.
Love your mother. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's 5.8%. All right. Let's try this.
Drinking at 8 a.m. again, man.
I know. You've got a problem.
Yeah, my family likes to give me looks in the morning.
As they should.
We understand what a podcast is like, huh? Why are you drinking again? And this is very good, by the way. I really like this. This is nice.
It's
At very
8 a.m.
smooth.
Or like generally throughout the day. It's So you said it was a coffee stout? Is that right?
Yeah, the coffee stout, but it's much more creamier than I expected.
Can you taste the coffee in it?
Not really, actually. I thought I would. It's not too bitter. It's very smooth and creamy and milky. That's why it's called Milk Truck, I guess.
It sounds
it's
like
very nice.
It sounds like a Guinness, right?
Sweet.
Much better than a Guinness.
Yeah.
Much better.
Much
than
better
a
than a
Guinness.
Guinness.
Nah, you're done.
I was gonna say you're done. Yeah.
Let's go.
But I don't like Guinness either. So.
Yeah. Oh, you're done. Get out of here.
Yeah. Jeez.
Jesus.
It's the worst of the stouts.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I can tell you this. Zoom probably just picked that up and they won't be showing any ads of Guinness to you anytime.
Yeah, if they don't hear the rest of this conversation about digital privacy and it's like, oh, yeah, we should care.
Well, these random three people.
But they don't.
No.
All right, guys, let me hop into this. So today's topic again is digital privacy. It's not a new concept. We've all heard about it before. And honestly, it dates back to antiquity. I think we're all familiar with the phrases of our inalienable rights, life, liberty, and property that was eventually changed to pursuit of happiness for our Declaration of Independence. For any legally minded people out there, you'll know the phrase right to be let alone. And again, these are all super old concepts that date back prior to the internet even being a thing. So the idea of privacy to things that are personal to you is an old concept, and it's something that's so ingrained in who we are as a species that, you know, we've never questioned it. It's always an inalienable right. It is who we are, is what makes us individuals. With that, I want to throw it back at you guys to get an idea. What do you guys think when you hear the phrase data privacy? Matt, let's start with you.
When I think of data privacy, I think of how much information about yourself are you willing to give up for the conveniences of modern life? And I think that's something that most people, if they do think about, they just like, oh, I think it's worth it to give up my own private information in order to enjoy my new phone, to enjoy easy browsing, advertising targeted towards us. I think it's just something that we're just ready to give up for ease of life.
So I think that's a really good perspective, in a sense that I think a good many people will hold a very similar perspective. You're coming across the idea that personal data is something that is almost a privilege rather than a right. It's something that you're willing to give up for the convenience of something else. We turn the GPS on our phone, even though we know Google is tracking us, because at the end of the day, we want to use the GPS function. And we're saying, well, you can know where I am because of that. And you've hit upon the biggest debate in data privacy is what's the line between allowing corporations to farm this data for free and providing a service without ever telling the person they're providing a service to that, hey, I'm actually taking a little part of you and stripping it away from you forever. It'll never be yours ever again.
Right.
And you never get told those terms. And I think that's the importance of this conversation. So with that said, Tin, what do you think of when you think of data privacy?
Well, so I guess let me preface my input there with, I received an email yesterday that I had won a major invasion of privacy. I won an Alexa yesterday.
Oh, nice.
And if you think about a major invasion of privacy, and Alexa is one of that. I actually won the Alexa for building an Alexa skill during a hackathon where I showed you guys a little bit of what it did. Was it, showed the death rates for the state that you were living in regards to COVID, right? So I won. I guess I won my consolation prize as an Alexa. So they're going to be shipping me an Alexa, and I'm going to be throwing it in the fucking trash can because it's not going to be fucking on in my house.
You keep turning mine on. Could you stop?
Oh, hey Alexa, go trash yourself. So, I think that the whole entire digital privacy thing is kind of weird because a lot of us aren't important enough for that to actually matter, other than from a commercialization perspective, right? We get our privacy invaded so that people can advertise to us, and some of us are a little bit more vulnerable to that type of advertisement where it's really targeted to what you were looking to buy anyways, and it's really what causes and triggers you to make that purchase, which could put you in much more financial burden than had you not had those targeted ads sent to you. From the perspective of governments and companies spying on you, most of us are boring. Most of us living boring lifestyles where we don't affect any other people's lives except for our own very small circles. So while I may not turn on the Alexa, I know that my phone or my microphone or anything else that I'm using electronically is probably invading my privacy. And, I don't care. I really don't care, right? I don't do anything illegal because most of the things that are illegal when it comes to searching online are not things that I'm interested in the first place. So anything else that I do online, so if I'm looking for like Nala line pinups, it's not like I'm going to be in trouble for that, right? But do I care if Facebook or Amazon know that? I'm not looking for Nala thing. That was when I was a teen. But anyways. Yeah, so the whole entire digital privacy thing to me, man, it doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't mean anything to me because I don't think I have any value to add to anybody other than advertisers.
So for the listeners, guys, this isn't scripted. So, Tim, that's actually the other major thought process when it comes to data privacy. Is like, look, I don't have a problem with data privacy. For anybody who's interested, I like my pizza with cheese, sausage, and pepperoni, and send it to my doorstep. My address is XYZ. I am good to go. But when you do that, you dismiss the bad behaviors, the behaviors of people actually coming in and stealing your identity from these corporations that are improperly holding your data. Identity theft, for example. Just a month and a half ago, T-Mobile got hacked. And they waited 3-5 days before they even notified their users, like, hey, all of your data was stolen, your social security number, your credit cards, everything. And oh, by the way, if you can prove that you were affected, we'll give you 1 year of credit monitoring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a huge slap in the face. So I understand that perspective, but it makes it as if there is not a single bad actor online, which is false. People make a living stealing identities. People make a living stealing your credit card. If you're not protecting yourself, you're actually just opening yourself up to being you're having your identity stolen.
So, not my social security number, but I've had my debit card swiped while I was on vacation a couple of times. And, my bank takes care of it relatively quickly. And, as you guys both know, I didn't finish law school. So if somebody wants to steal my identity, my social security number is 25. Don't worry about it. But yeah, go ahead. I don't care. I was a T-Mobile customer. Take my identity. Send me pizza. Send me the beer that I like, and I don't know how you guys feel about it. I understand that, people would say, hey, I got things that I have to lose. I don't want to lose my identity. And I actually just went through this. I had a couple of people called me the other day and they said they had thousands of dollars taken from their bank account. Their phone number was ported away from them. Their emails, they were shut out of their emails. And, they had a phone attack. They had a phone port attack. And it was people who were using a company called Straight Talk. Okay. And Straight Talk was allowing scammers to call in and port out numbers without the proper security measures. And they didn't have their lives ruined. All the banks and all that stuff covered for them. And maybe they might have had their identity stolen. I don't know. But, again, if you steal my identity, at least pay my bills. But I don't care. I don't really care.
So I think it's okay.
Go ahead, Matt.
No, I just think it's my own philosophy has really changed a lot over the years. Before, when I was in the Air Force, my whole job was about computer security. My job made me very paranoid about what data was out there, what people were looking for, and it kind of invaded my own personal life, how I view technology and things. But over time, it's just like I used to avoid giving out my information. I used to always change my names on my accounts to be different things, be fake addresses to everywhere. But now I'm just like, I'm purposely choosing a Google phone and purposely using Chrome in order to have all of my information and data collected in one spot to make it easier for my life, I feel like. And I'm kind of feel like I'm at the same spot that Tin is at, where I'm just like, yeah, I'm willing to give all this up because it's easier. Well, I like having all my passwords in one spot. I like having all my...
That's not why I give this all up, man. I'm not giving it up because it's easier. It's because I just don't care. Right. Even with Google Chrome and all this stuff, I still don't remember my password. And I got to go in password manager. And then it asks me for a password to unlock my password manager. And sometimes I forget that password too. So it doesn't really make it that much easier for me. Right. It's just, but I get it, man. The convenience is awesome, man. But Jesus Christ, last week you were blowing a bottle and now you're busting a can. What the hell are you doing?
I mean, if you're not sucking the head off of something, you're probably not doing it right.
No.
Yeah.
What about you, man? So you're big into digital privacy. What do you do to protect yourself, and where do you make the trade-off between convenience and hiding something that I don't know? I get it. Somebody like steals your social security number and ruins your credit. It can be pretty detrimental.
So the only way that's ever affected me I've been in digital privacy for a very, very long time, but I want to say maybe 4 years ago, my social security number got stolen, and somebody got credit over in like Oklahoma or something, and then like across the West Coast, and they brought my credit score down to like a 500. I didn't know about it. I never ever reported anything to me, but all these people, all they ever took was social security number because that's all they needed to pull the credit. It took me 6 or 7 months before I can repair all that credit. During that time, I lost out on purchasing a new house. I lost out on the ability to get a particular job because that job required a credit check. And because that was there, like I lost it all. So no, it didn't ruin my life. I'm in a good spot now, but those opportunities were taken away from me. And having opportunities taken away from you, that's part of your own like ability to live, and it was taken away because somebody just happened to stumble across my social security number because some company didn't do a good job securing their data.
That's so weird because a couple of years ago I was stuck in Oklahoma because I missed my flight and I lost my wallet and I needed some money to rent a hotel.
Close, but it was a phone service.
Let me ask you something though. Identity theft isn't directly tied to digital privacy though, right? Sometimes is it?
There's 4 categories of privacy. I love this. You're doing a great job. Again, none of this is scripted. There's 4 categories of privacy. You have information privacy, and this is the one we typically think about, is your finance information, your medical information, your other like personal records, even your internet browser history, that kind of stuff. That's what we think about when we think of data privacy. What we don't think about is the other 3 categories. Your bodily privacy. And this is usually like genetic testing, or when you train Google or anything else to recognize your voice, even your phone, that's your bodily privacy. You're giving that up to somebody else. Voice recognition will be just gone. It'll be destroyed if somebody could steal that data. Then you have territorial privacy, which a lot of people think about, and that's your GPS data, where you are, when you're there, how often you go there, your habits, etc. And then the other one a lot of people don't think about is the communication privacy. And that's the words you use, how you use it, who do you talk to, and like your behaviors. Like all 4 of those, if you can get somebody's information for all 4 of those, you can literally recreate that person online.
Well, yeah,
and nobody will be able to find a difference.
So I mean, like as we're living in the world of big data, all of us, regardless of what we do, as long as we're in the world of digital, we're mining that data in one of those 4 tranches, right? Mm-hmm. But let's go back to what I was asking you, because identity theft has been occurring before the digital world, at least Correct. Before the digital world become so prolific. Just because our identity is now stored in databases, does that just by default say, hey, this is now digital privacy, or is it just a different way of storing that personal data and people are still stealing your personal data and stealing your identity? But because when I think about the word privacy, right, when you're talking about the 3 tranches of bodily movement, voice data, and your territorial data, and things that you would not get otherwise unless if you have some type of digital device tracking those metrics, right? But when it comes to your personal identification, is that really digital privacy?
I think it is. I think it's another level of identity theft that we've never had the opportunity to explore until data became a thing. Before, like you said, identity theft was as simple as a phone call scam. And all you had to do was call in to somebody and they would have trusted you over the phone. And nowadays, we have spam protectors, most of us, on our phones that just, ignore those things, ignore the robocalls. But that type of identity theft still existed back then. What data privacy brings to the table, or data brings to the table in general, is the ability to account for multiple aspects. So I can take your social security number by looking at whatever information I can find. I can figure out what your habits are and say, I know he gets coffee at this Starbucks on this kind of day. So I'm going to hack into that Wi-Fi mainframe and do whatever I need to from there, because everybody knows he's going to be at this Starbucks at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. And then you can keep going down all of that. Like at the end of the day, if you have the voice recognition software, you can hack into their phone for the two-factor authentication. It's not that privacy or identity theft didn't exist until now. It's just that it's become so intricate that we've relied on it now. Your identity is not verified anymore. It's just, hey, you clicked a few things on your phone, we know it's you.
Okay, I got 2 questions for you, and now I'll give it back to you and Matt. Okay, first question is, okay, when you're out, and Matt said this, we're willing to give our privacy up for convenience. Is it the general consensus that people are giving up their privacy for conveniences? And do people know in general that when you're walking around with your cell phone or you're driving or your GPS, that you're being tracked? Do they know that their privacy is being incurred upon when they're using these devices of convenience?
I think it depends on who you're asking. As an attorney, I'm going to say that
my second question is going to be to you as an attorney. My first question is to you as a person, and to people, a reasonable, prudent person. Okay. Just a regular person like Matt, myself, and your next door neighbor, when they're using their cell phone for a GPS. You saw I posted that thing on Facebook the other day of all the cities that I've been to, right? I know that's not something that I personally tracked myself. That was something that Google tracked and provided me as a metric. I know that that's something that Google gave to me that I didn't ask Google to do, right? So a regular, normal person, do you think that they know that they're giving up, or at least that the devices they're using, the companies that are providing these devices and services are taking this information and using it for their own purposes?
I'm not quite sure where you're going with this, but yes, I think most everybody knows they're giving up some bit of themselves in order to have a convenience.
So let's talk about the reasonable expectation of privacy, right? Mm-hmm. This is that when is it no longer private, right? Is that when you know? So if you're out in public and you yell out something out in public that you originally wanted to keep it private, is it private anymore at that point? It's not, right? Right. So if you're talking at a phone booth that is in a baseball stadium and there are hundreds of people around you listening to your conversation, is what you said on that phone private anymore at that point?
Depending, for the most part, no.
Okay, so most people, if they understand that these companies are using their information, their data for their own good, and they can see that by looking at that map and saying, oh, I've been to all these cities, then do you have a reasonable expectation of privacy anymore at that point?
Do you have a reasonable expectation of privacy when you're at home talking to your wife?
Yes.
What if you yell at your wife inside your home?
It depends if my neighbors can hear it or not, right?
They can't hear it.
Okay, then yeah, sure.
Yeah, but what happens when Alexa happened to record everything?
That's why that bitch ain't in my
home. Nosy bitch. Did you know that if Alexa thinks it hears its voice, it'll record the prior 10 seconds. It'll keep that recording and it'll record the next 10 seconds. If you don't respond to it, it actually gets sent to a data center in Europe for somebody to analyze why Alexa responded to that. Somebody's actually listening to those 20 seconds of audio file.
I'm sure. Right. So
is that a breach of your privacy?
But that's the thing, right? Is that we started this podcast and I told you guys that I won an Alexa. Alexa's not going to be turned on in my house. I know that this thing is listening too, right?
Hey, no, it's cool. Right. Your argument is that your privacy doesn't mean anything. If it didn't mean anything, you'd turn on that Alexa, wouldn't you?
Well, and that's the thing, though, right? Is that what I'm asking is that no? So I would turn on the Alexa. I'm actually almost pro Alexa, but I don't want to turn on the Alexa because I might buy too much shit. And it makes
let's make this a little bit more obvious. What's stopping you right now from giving me your first, middle, and last name, social security number, and your first credit card you can pull out of your wallet? And telling me right now.
So okay. Obviously, I cherish my identity, despite what I said, right? So if you steal my identity, that's fine. I don't care. But if I'm not just gonna give it to you. You gotta at least get through level 1, level 2 boss.
He just gave consent to everybody. So if you can hack his computer and grab everything, this is consent.
Level 1, level 2 bosses. You gotta get through those bosses before you get it, right? No, so but okay, but that's the question, right? Is that when you're using devices that intrudes upon your privacy, then do you have a reasonable expectation of privacy anymore? So
but you should.
Well,
so what if I were to tell you that there's laws that allow you to say, hey, that data is mine. It belongs to me. And if you misuse it and I found out you misused it because you were negligent, I can sue you.
Okay.
What if I told you that law existed?
So now if you explicitly told me that, then I would be more than willing to use your device. Even though I'm blindly trusting, right?
Then move to the European Union, be protected on the GDPR, and enjoy your life, because you can use literally anything and you have that right.
Well, so okay, not completely. Do you?
You do.
100%. Well, no, well, not necessarily, because if you're uploading, so if you're a European content creator from YouTube, right? And you're uploading videos on YouTube, it doesn't prevent a third party to mine that data that you're uploading onto YouTube, even though.
Correct. But so the GDPR protects companies that you allow to take your data. So what YouTube has to do is make sure it can strip just about everything from your personal data that you want to be stripped out of it. Now, if a third party comes in and watches your video, that's like you going to the middle of a mall and yelling.
Right.
Like, that's not data privacy anymore. That's you actually consenting. Like, when you just consented for somebody to steal your identity and hack your computer, that was you giving consent to the world to steal your identity. That's on you. Now, if you said
please
that privately, what was that?
No, I was just asking them, please pay my loans if they're going to steal my identity.
But that's you like providing that information out there. So that's no longer a data privacy. You can't hold another company accountable for that.
So I don't understand. So if I upload something up to YouTube and I live in the UK, right? YouTube can't mine my data, but somebody else watching that video can mine my data.
Anything that you publish to the world can be mined for data. Like,
sure,
it's no longer personal information.
Sure. So why can't you? So okay. So what you're saying is that as far as the EU is concerned, from privacy is concerned, if you're uploading onto YouTube.
So in the GDPR sense, they're protecting data that should be protected. So if I give YouTube my credit card so I can have YouTube Red or whatever it's called these days, I have an expectation that they'll keep that credit card number private. I have an expectation that they'll keep it secure. Now that can't be mined. They're not allowed to mine that and not tell me if they're going to store it somewhere else. If they decided to change the server location from one area to another, they have to notify the government and the government has to approve of it. So the EU is taking these dramatic steps in order to protect data that you think should be private. But if you're going out on YouTube and you're saying, hey, my last name is whatever, my social security number is whatever, my address is this, and my birth date is this, there's nothing for a corporation can do. You did that to yourself.
So I know we were tired when we first started this podcast, but isn't that a little anti-capitalist?
It's not. I don't think so. So I think there's a point in which capitalism has to actually care about the people that it's helping. So if we have like these corporations that are too big to fail, isn't it anti-capitalism to allow them to survive? Or is it anti-capitalism to allow them to survive? So let's say 10 years ago, GE was about to go under. they were about to file for bankruptcy, and they were like, hey, I need a government loan in order to survive.
Yeah.
If you were the U.S. government, what would you do? Would you give them the loan, or would you let them fail?
I mean, that was post antitrust breakup, though, right?
It doesn't matter when it is it? Because you're talking about anti-capitalism spirit. The point of this is you're more than likely people in the government's shoes would say, no, I'm going to give them the money. I'm going to loan them money because they hire so many people that to let them fail would allow the entire system to collapse. There'd be so much unemployment that I'd rather just loan them the money so that we don't come into a bigger economic collapse. In the same sense, we have to taper off how much capitalism has a grip on our personal lives so that they don't end up being the one that control us. I mean, so at some point
we could use a rise in unemployment. But sorry, Matt, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just going to say that is it taking that argument to something different? But I was going to say that I feel like if you were talking about just a pure capitalist, maybe I have a misunderstanding of it, but I feel like if it was a pure capitalist government, they wouldn't care. I feel like they would just let the companies fail.
And that's exactly the point. There's no such thing as a pure capitalist society. We don't have one. There's no such thing as a pure socialist society. Like it can't, nothing of that sort can exist in its purest form with outside of paper. I mean, everything in their purest form sounds great on paper, but the problem with paper is that it takes away human nature, and human nature is chaotic.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Let's reel it back a little bit. So Google, for the most part, has been a huge player in innovation and moving us forward in the technological revolution. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, the last decade, we've been using Google services without upfront payment, right? So the collection of payment is through data collection and advertisement, right? Advertisement that originally started out as non-targeted to move to targeted to move to machine learning based targeting, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's how Google has grown their business is through payment in arrears. Mm-hmm. Would we have gotten that innovation without that invasion of privacy that allowed large tech companies to monetize the way that they did?
Okay, yes. I love this argument because it acts as if the fact that it started this way means that we should allow the snowball effect to happen. If an avalanche happens and you see a snowball forming down a gigantic hill and you know it's going to create something massive and destroy an entire city, do you stop it when it's 3 inches in diameter, or do you let it kill the entire city because, damn, it looked pretty when it started? So in a better context, do you know how credit cards were started? Credit cards were started from these, we'll call them banks.
Right. Yes.
In order to get, they had to deal with an issue. They needed people who wanted to use credit cards, and they needed companies that were willing to accept the credit cards. The problem was you couldn't get one without the other. Nobody wanted a credit card if they didn't have if there was no place to use a credit card machine, and nobody wanted a credit card machine if people didn't have credit cards. Kind of the same issue with the whole Bitcoin concept now. The way with the credit card dealt with that was actually they sent out credit to just random people. They sent out these cards with the credit and said, hey, here's a line of credit. You have $1,000 you can spend, etc. Hey, companies, we have 500 people that are using our credit card now. You should accept it. And they just happened to spark. And now credit cards have become something of a necessity. Like I barely carry around cash anymore. I just think it's easier to carry around a credit card, and I can account for my finances a lot better. Now, does that mean that we should just let credit card companies handle all of that? We should get rid of credit reporting agencies. We should get rid of all barriers on interest rates. If they decide to change our interest rate to 50% tomorrow, that's up to them. Or are we better with the system that we have now with the Fair and Accurate Credit Transactions Act, the Fair Credit Reporting Act? Are we better with that system in place that protects us from the corporations who want to run rampant with that power? So yes, I agree with you. If it wasn't for Google data mining in the beginning, we wouldn't have these innovations that we do now. But that's not a reason for us to allow them to keep growing and being massive to the extent that they can then just control everything that we have. We need to have certain protections in place so that our kids don't have to deal with a snowball the size of Texas.
Well, so you know, the question here is that, okay, if Google becomes the snowball, the size, number one, nobody stops at a snowball at 3 inches, right? They look at a snowball at 3 inches and they're like, well, it might get bigger, it might not. If we stop it right now, it'd be a waste of time. That's human nature, right?
Yep.
And we don't really know what that threshold is to when we stop the snowball. Right. And the question is that, okay, is Google not too big to stop at this point? And the data minus our identity being stolen occasionally, but like our GPS data, our territorial data, our biometric data, and our interests and our search interests and our psycho data, does it matter that they have it? And if you obviously do think that it matters, but why does it matter?
So no, that's the fun part. So I don't think it matters that they have it. I don't. Like, it's not me saying in order to protect our privacy, we shouldn't allow these companies to mine our data. It's that I think we should force these companies to say, hey, by the way, Tin, I'm mining your data. And if at any point you want me to delete this, just give me the word and it's gone forever.
So I got a great question for you, because it's great for current events. And Matt, jump in anytime, okay? Because it's like the cat's got your tongue or something. Because I know you got your opinions on this too. But okay, so when a big data company says, hey, we're going to do something and we're going to let you know that we're going to do something, they get bad PR. Whereas a company that chooses to do something without telling you, it just kind of slides under the radar. And let's talk about that, because Apple recently announced that they were going to look through your photo data to see if they can find pedophiles.
What a violation.
And they had a huge backlash. And you know damn well Google's doing that right now.
Yep.
So when a company that has been really righteous about protecting personal data, not giving your data to the FBI, and we know how Apple has been about protecting personal data, right? So they go out and they said, okay, explicitly, we're going to tell you this is what we're going to do with your data. The backlash was so bad that they said, okay, well, maybe not right now. So where do you draw that line, right? Is that
I don't think this is a corporate responsibility.
Good guys don't win. Nice guys don't win.
So yeah, no. I'm with you. Like, I don't think we should be saying, hey, corporations, get with the program and start giving us this stuff. I think it's up for the government to actually have these rights available so that the corporations are not saying, oh, ethically, we should do this. They're saying, no, legally, we're forced to do this. And legally, we're being told that we have to do this. So these protections are available for you. And by the way, this is what's going on. And this is what we're doing in accordance with the law. And when people start acting like that, you're like, you don't get mad at Apple anymore. You get mad at the government, because all of a sudden you get to vote for that change. You all of a sudden have a voice that actually matters, because if you showed up in a boardroom at Apple and said, hey, I don't like how you do this, you're going to end up in jail.
Why not let them self-regulate then?
Because they're not doing a good job so far.
You guys do it. So like the tech industry, they don't self-regulate, right? You guys have the ABA. You guys are self-regulated. And
so that's different, right?
Well,
because we're professionals that are accountable to a board that we have to remain accountable for every single year.
Okay.
So there's no tech corporation that on a yearly basis has to say, hey, I'm following all my requirements. I know all these people that I helped can file an action against me and they haven't. So can I keep my license for another year? And they say yes. But at any point, anybody that I've ever helped can call in a violation against me. Can you do that against any of the corporations that you work with?
Well, but that's the thing though, right? Is that you have tech companies that have opposing ethos, right? You have Apple and you have Google. Google once upon a time thought we thought Google was the good guy, which turned out that Google was the bad guy, where we thought once that Apple was the bad guy, and Apple turned out to be the good guy. And these big tech companies, they have different ethos. And you look at Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos fighting each other, they have different ethics and morals, right? So why? Because look, I don't think government is the right body to say, hey, tech companies, you guys have bad ethics, because our government's not the body to do that, right? So why couldn't the tech company itself, the tech industry itself, go into a self-regulated body where we're like, okay, well, and this is beyond today's scope, but the tech companies really are responsible for regulating the people's speech as well, right?
How do you feel about the fact that Uber and Lyft said that they were willing to pay for all the legal expenses for their drivers to drive any Texas citizen to an abortion clinic?
How do I feel about it?
Yeah, like that's them putting in corporate morality into their ethos.
Yeah.
And the fact that nobody gets to chime in on that, the fact that nobody gets to say, hey, that money should go there or shouldn't go there, that's not a vote that anybody got to make.
You vote with your wallet, right? If you don't want to use Uber or Lyft.
Do you vote with your wallet anymore? Like when you use Google, do you pay Google, or are you voting with your data?
Only way you don't is like if you just don't use Google at all, which is kind of difficult.
I think you do both, right?
No, so you can use Google. Okay, so this is perfect. So let me, Matt, why don't you finish up on corporate ethics, corporate morals, and technology companies self-regulating. Like, what are your thoughts on it?
I think in today's world it's difficult, but especially with companies as big as Google or, even Nestle, Nestle is huge as an example, but they do a lot of evil stuff, at least in my opinion. And we just don't realize it. Or if we do realize it, it's difficult not to buy these kind of products or use them. But I mean, if it is a concern of yours about their morality and stuff like that, I think you just have to do as best as you can and not to use their products or not to buy their things.
That's fair. All right. So I think we're going to pick up this conversation again because I think there's a lot left unsaid and a lot more we could talk about. So I like that we picked this up. For anybody who is out there who is like, you know what, I know that this debate is ongoing and I don't have a clear answer, but I want to do what I can to protect myself. There are several options that you can take right now. You'll be using VPNs like NordVPN or Proton VPN. It's a good way to mask where you are by using like distributed packets that come to you on twice distributed areas. Keep in mind, your internet service provider can keep a track of all your browser history without you knowing. They don't ever have to tell you, and they can sell it. So by using a VPN, you change what kind of data they get for your browser history because you're literally just talking to a single IP. The other ways to do it is like Matt was talking about before, get yourself a password manager, something that'll store and generate passwords for you so you're not using the same things over and over again. Use browser extensions that like block ads, disable cookies. It gives you a grade report on the privacy of certain websites while you're there, so you know whether or not you should be storing any of your personal information there. If you can, disable GPS on a lot of your phone apps that don't need personal GPS. Like, there's no reason for Candy Crush to know where you are, for example. Download other browser extensions like HTTPS Everywhere that allows you to encrypt every website that you're on so that stealing your data is a little bit harder for third parties. Get yourself an encrypted email. Not something I do, but if you want to go the distance, that's really the way to go. Current emails, the big providers take a lot of data from what you're emailing. They don't have to tell you any of that. They don't have to tell you what they're taking from you. They don't have to tell you that they're saving it to your user profile. So, I mean, I think Proton Mail is a popular encrypted email, things like that. There's fancier ones. And most importantly, make sure you download yourself a anti-malware or anti-spyware onto your computer and run a check at least once a week, if not every day. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, guys. I thought this entire conversation was a lot of fun. This hits home to something that I think that a entire concept that I hold very dear to myself. I watch this constantly, and I'm very curious how people respond. And I'm also ashamed at a lot of human nature when money is involved in the product. So I hope we talk about this again, and I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. That being said, Matt, what's on the table for next week?
So what I was thinking for our topic of next week, something similar, but not quite, but technology and our kids and how on what you do with your kids, what do you allow them to play with like phones, tablets. And a lot of days, most parents are like, no phones, no tablets at all. Some are like, I can't live without my kid having access to some sort of entertainment for it, so I can have a breather for a moment. This like how you guys feel about that.
All right. I like it. That's gonna be fun. That's pretty on topic for me. I could probably go 15 minutes just on COPPA alone. So I am down.
Okay.
All right, guys. That was a lot of fun. We're signing out. We'll see you guys next week.
All right. Till next
Peace.
week. Peace. All right.